It is not Friday, March 21st. It's Friday, March 20th. I just noticed that and I'm like, I'm not changing it. Okay. I am so glad I'm finally doing a live. I think I didn't do one last week and I'm happy to, talk to you guys again. I do apologize because I am not in a place yet where I can actually schedule and say, I'm going to be live at this time on this day. And like we used to do, because there's just a lot of priorities and that I need to put before everything else. And also, I have to tell you, and I am having so much fun back in my hometown with lifelong friends. And so whenever the weather is great, I'm like, I got to get out of here. And so I go to the beach and I walk downtown. And so today it was a gloomy day. And I was like, aha, I will do the live because I wanted to talk with you guys. Okay, so you know how I put these lives together, and I try to have a topic in mind, and then I go into it, and we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about this, and then something pops out at me, and I'm like, okay, and then I'm like, oh, this is all related, and so that's what happened this morning when I saw this graphic from Purple Room Media, and so this was their Facebook page, and I shared it to my page. And I saw this, I thought, okay, this is something unique that I can offer to the conversation and that hopefully will be worth your time to see. But I want you to look at this photograph here. Okay. Again, I see you're here and it's Friday, March 20th, not 21st. Forget about it. Okay. That was me. Okay. Ex-counterterrorism director Joe Kent speaks out. Oh, other people do typos too. Very good. It speaks out on resignation. I cannot in good conscience send troops to die in Iran war. Okay, now look at what is on that podium. Catholics for Catholics. Okay, now if you have followed my work at all, you know that Catholics for Catholics is MAGA Catholic Central. Okay, MAGA Catholics. All right, and so this is a good time to segue into my introduction. My name is Shannon Babich. I am a gutter Catholic. I coined that term, which means that we are on the social justice side of the Catholic Church, right? We're all about the changes Pope Leo's making. We're all about taking down the far right side of the Catholic Church that rejects Vatican II, that wants to bring back the Crusades, that wants an integralist state, which is a word that means theocracy or theonomy, which is a religious-led government, a Catholic religious-led government, okay? And if you're new or you haven't been around a while, you're like, where'd you go, Shannon? Well, my life changed very quickly in the beginning of September when I was living in Germany, and my husband of 30 years and the father of our 7 children left our marriage abruptly. I had no idea it was about to happen. I did not see it coming. And then that was, wow, something else. And also there was no explanation. So that was really something else. But I was able to relocate back to my hometown of Florence, Oregon with my 3 youngest children. And I am living here now. And in fact, your help, your subscriptions for my paid Substack, which I'm going to show you in a minute, is helping me pay the rent. It is paying the rent. It's paying for all the bills. It's paying for everything for my kids. It's paying for food. I don't have to go to the food bank anymore. And while we wait for a Lane County court to approve an order of support, which is coming soon. So Lane County, Oregon. So I am talking to you now from my hometown of Florence, Oregon. And just so you know, I, of course, am happy to be home. I'm keeping things calm and steady for the kids. Their well-being is my first priority. And I'm, wish my soon-to-be ex-husband all the best. And I am focused on continuing my life and conducting myself with grace and dignity. So what we're going to talk about today, and I am going to, hearken back to one of my, let's see if I've got it here. Yes, my long form content that so many of you found me through a year ago. And these were these long lectures I would do. This one right here was 4 hours and 22 minutes. This is one of the ones I was most proud of because I explain in tacit detail. I was so proud of my research here. I was very proud of my research in this video. It's the anti-democracy machine behind J.D. Vance. And I have just now republished it because when I made that video, I was like, this is my family, this is my marriage, blah, 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 because I thought everything was, fine, sort of. And so now, and then everything that happened, I took them off the public because it was just, there was a lot going on and it was really awful. And also, extremely concerning. And so, but I am publishing my long form content now behind a paywall because I am so reliant on you right now to pay my legal fees because I have had no access to marital funds. So everything I am paying to my attorney and all legal fees is coming through this work. Okay. And I'm so grateful that you all found me when I was publishing this content. So I went ahead and I'm republishing my long form content with a caveat with like, just so you know, okay. So when you watch it, you understand, but I republished the anti-democracy machine behind J.D. Vance yesterday. You can find it behind a paywall on my Substack. And that video goes into depth on the tech bros, Peter Thiel, okay, which we're going to talk about again, because he's been in Rome giving his secret talks on the Antichrist, okay? And so, as much as it's kind of nice to be right. It's kind of nice to be right about things and really, intuitive. I thought I was, and you'd think I would be intuitive about others. But when I published this, I drew the lines, like how did J.D. Vance, who fast-tracked him in? And so we have all the different players, a couple of Dominican priests. We've got Father Arnie Panula, who was an Opus Dei, the head of Opus Dei in the United States. We got a lot of Opus Dei all over this, right? And if you've heard my story, if you know, I was pulled into the orbit of Opus Dei about 25, 26 years ago to the far right side of the Catholic Church. And that's where I learned all of this, right? Their monarchist ideals, their monarchist goals, which means, and this was the thing, because I was sitting there in like my recruiter's house, and one of her family members said, well, don't worry, all this will be over, the woes of the world when we finally get a Catholic king. And I went, oh, a Catholic king in America. I couldn't believe my ears. Okay. And so that started. Now I'd always just researched for fun, right? So was it about 2000, just for fun, I started researching the Mormon Church. And so I just learned everything I could about the Mormon Church. I was raised Catholic. I'm a gutter Catholic still, very far left side of the Catholic Church. But I started researching Catholicism, right? Because I'm like, who are these people? These aren't the same kind of Catholics I went to church with in Florence, Oregon in the 80s and 90s. What is going on? And that's what led to this work, which just was years and years of research. And while, because I had a friend, I was sitting with a friend yesterday, and she's like, Shannon, how do you know all of this? And because I am an unlettered pie baker, I did not finish college. I got married at 21, had 7 kids, and followed and supported my husband's military career for 30 years. And she says, how do you know all this? And I said, because I had nothing else to do in my downtime than study. Okay. And that's what I did. I studied. I'm a food writer. I can build websites. I am talking to you about this because my brain likes to do stuff. And it was part of my good caretaking of myself, right? To self-care, to keep learning and exercising my brain throughout those years while I was waiting for my husband to, retire or have the time and stuff. So, the mixed bag version, of what you all see on social media, which is I'm trying to now I'm branching off into, you know, exploring Oregon and producing travel content, because that's something my kids and I can do together, especially over spring break. But it's also good for me moving on. Okay. And so when you see me doing my travel videos, that's me moving on and being okay. So if you go to the Gutter Catholic Daily Digest on Substack, and if you do decide to become a paid subscriber, I really, really appreciate it, because like I said, you are paying for my living expenses and everything my kids need: clothes, shoes, food. I had to go to the food bank for 2 months, December and January, but I'm doing much better now. And I have so much help. I have people stopping by. I have this lady who has a farm. She comes by and brings us eggs, dozens and dozens, because she knows that the big boys eat a lot of eggs. I have 2 teenage boys, and everyone has been so, so decent, and I cannot thank you enough. And so, but if you do decide to become a paid subscriber, you're really, really helping us through this time. And also you will have access to my long form content, which, you know, watch it, understanding that I did not know what I was in at that time. Okay. And more mysteries are being solved every day, which is fascinating. And more answers are finding me. So we'll see if I'm ever able to share that. But I've got a lot of, I mean, I think I had maybe 50 hours of long form content just after a really concentrated 8 months of producing it. And, you know, I think the next one I publish is going to be on Franco Spain. And so if you're an American and you're like, I don't even know what Franco Spain is, you know, Franco, like Chef Boyardee? No. No, actually, a Catholic government in Spain, basically in Spain, that's the easiest way to describe it, but it's not even accurate, but just take it as it is. Spain had their own kind of Nazi-ish government, only it was run by Catholics. It was Catholic. And so, so I think that's the next one I'm going to publish, but you can find that content. And it's very important to understand when we're about to talk about Peter Thiel, we're about to talk about, the question that we're going to ask is that, is there a break in ranks with MAGA Catholics right now? Which is so fascinating and actually really, really good news, okay? I know, especially for Protestants and people who hate Catholics, is be like, wait, the Catholics are going to put a stop to this? That's got to rub you the wrong way. But Pope Leo is doing a pretty fantastic job. I think everyone can agree with that. And you can also access my memoir in real time, The Gutter Catholic Goes Home, where I do talk about what it was like to come home to my hometown of Florence, Oregon, after my marriage ended abruptly without warning and without explanation. And 30-year marriage with 7 children. And so the first chapter is free. I just published chapter 18. And so the readership is good. The community is growing, and it's an incredibly supportive environment for me and anybody else who relates to my story at all. Okay. Also, you can pick up some sweet merch. Please check out my new merch, Staggeringly Disrespectful, which I may trademark. And I'll put the links for all of this in the comments when I'm done. Alrighty. So this is the gist of it. Okay. Now, I know delivery lady's at my door. Hold on a second. She's delivering something that she doesn't want to just leave there. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves. Hey, girl. Thank you. Oh, got it.
Anywhere.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Oh, fabulous. I'll see you next time. Bye. Okay. That is the beauty of life in a small town. Do I know my mail carrier? Yes, I do. We're on the hey girl basis, right? I see her driving around. I'm like, hey girl. Saw her at the post office the other day. Hey girl. Okay. So, okay. And also my kids get out of school they get out of school an hour early on Friday. So I only have an hour left to talk all the words out. to take all the words from here and talk them out here, okay? So now, I know this is confusing for a lot of people, so let me just jump right in. People are like, okay, Christian nationalists, right? What are the white Christian nationalists? They are the ones, Pete Hegseth, which I talked at length about last week, because we love to make fun of Pete Hegseth. Okay, he's got the Crusader tattoos. He has a tattoo that reads Deus Vult, which is Latin, as somebody pointed out, sloppy Latin, for God wills it, which is the first century rallying call. What in the world are Protestants doing, carrying around Catholic imagery, talking about crusades? I'm sure you've seen this on the news where he's all like, take it all the way. And honestly, makes me sick that he's now telling service members who had the families of deceased service members that let's go in and finish the job, wow. And I got a lot more to say about military culture and certain pockets of military culture that they do see it as a holy war. I was at someone's retirement, was it about 17 years ago? And this person in his retirement speech, a lot of times after retirement, they uncloak. And he said in his retirement speech that basically the Muslims were a real problem and that this was a big deal. And this was 17 years ago. This person is saying that he was like, our foe is so great. Like he's already thinking this is a holy war, right? And I remember thinking that and just going, whoa. That's a piece. This was a Protestant who said it. I was like, this is a piece of the puzzle, especially after all my research into Opus Dei and the far right side of Catholicism and the Crusades. I was like, well, that was not what I expected. And then I was able to talk to a lot of former white Christian nationalist friends because I homeschooled. You can't swing a dead cat in a homeschool group, seems like these days, without hitting a white Christian nationalist. And so I would just be like, so what do you think of this? So what do you think of that? And sorry, I love cats. I don't mean to be offensive. Oh, you're kidding. He's also telling the world to say thank you to President Trump. Oh God, what can we do but laugh at this point? Okay, educate ourselves. All right. So if you're thinking, what in the world do these people want? What's the difference between the white Christian nationalists and the far right side of the Catholic Church? Opus Dei, Society of St. Pius X, all of these people. Okay, and where does Pope Leo fit into all of this? And where does Peter Thiel fit into all of this? And so if you want more of a base knowledge, and I highly recommend this, just go back. And I hate to be like, you're going to pay to watch this, but I'm in a real predicament here. I got legal fees. And, that's important, very important. And so watching that 4-hour video, hopefully you'll find it worth, $8. And, if you just want to pay to watch it, just pay for a month. And then you can look at some of my other content too. But I go back to Vatican II. I go back to Thomas Aquinas. I also talk about René Girard, the French philosopher, and his philosophies, and some of them, I find actually kind of like, as a mother, yeah, of course people are jealous what other people have. I talk about that there. And anyway, if you want a real baseline for the underpinnings of the Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance, Curtis Yarvin, Opus Dei thing, and if you want to understand Peter Thiel's these secret talks on the Antichrist, you might want to watch that. Okay, no pressure, but I would appreciate it. Okay, and so this guy on the right, Doug Wilson. Okay, so he is the pastor of Pete Hegseth. Now, and interestingly, and let's go back here real quick. Okay, Catholics for Catholics. So I have watched the Catholics and the Protestants spar in Mar-a-Lago in the White House settings for a while now. Paula White with her yellow dress, and I've always wondered, like, my goodness, when the Catholics leave, because Catholics for Catholics, I call it MAGA Catholic Central. They're a very new organization. And they had a mass they have masses at Mar-a-Lago. I think they've done masses at Washington, D.C. And then I always imagine that the white Christian nationalists that hang around Mar-a-Lago or hang around Washington, D.C. or the White House, they have to go in and like cleanse the place after the Catholics leave. And, I always thought that they would keep their little war under wraps, right? But it looks like things are kind of breaking at the seams. And so we're going to talk about that today. And we're going to assess, is this really real? Or is it just wishful thinking? Because it would be nice. A little infighting right now wouldn't hurt. And so Doug Wilson is this extremist, I don't want to offend Protestants, but he's an extremist white Christian nationalist. He believes in rigid gender roles. He believes that women should stay in the home. He wants to abolish no-fault divorce. He wants to take us back. He doesn't believe women should vote. And he also believes in wife spanking, and not the good kind, but I mean like serious corporal punishment in homes. They believe in rigid hierarchy, kind of like the military. And, these are people who are serious. I've been in these circles. I remember, pondering these ideas and these thoughts myself, as somebody who was in a hierarchical structure of military culture. And you see with the efficiency with which they conduct themselves, you can get a lot done when there's a rigid hierarchy. Okay. People can achieve a lot. You can take over a lot of ground. You can do things like my family was able to do, which was move constantly, continent to continent, state to state, keep everyone in order. My husband's career always came first. You can achieve a lot when you fall into line and you continue a rigid hierarchy, okay? And you can be very efficient, which is exactly why they do it and exactly why these people want this to be back in the United States, rigid hierarchies and a form of governance that is punitive to outliers. And they truly believe that they are here to save the world. Okay, so how dare you question them, right? How dare you be so staggeringly disrespectful? So now here's the crux of the issue. Okay, Catholics, okay, the far right Catholics, all right, and the white Christian nationalists like this, right? The white Christian nationalists believe that they need Israel. Okay, did you know this? They believe that they need Israel, and they need Israel to have biblical borders before Christ comes back. Okay, they want Armageddon. They want the end of the world. They want Jesus back, okay? And they really think that Armageddon is gonna, maybe there'll be a little suffering, but that's what they want, okay? And that should scare the crap out of everybody. And also, I want to point this out because I noticed this verbiage in, Pete Hegseth. Just as a side joke, though, have you ever met somebody who brought more intensity to a room than the room could handle? That's Pete Hegseth, all right? If you see him doing his speeches and he's like leaning over it with, it's just awkward. We're so tired of this. And he seems to want to have his own cult of like, let's go, let's finish the job. I just don't think any of us are picking up what he's putting down. He doesn't have the pizzazz to start his own cult. But one thing, and this was my point, this is one thing that I have heard him say when he's up there. He's like, King Jesus, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but so let's think about that. Why is he introducing the word king into any conversation in the United States? It just seems a little, maybe coincidental, but also I did hear with my own ears, right? All of our problems will be solved, said my recruiter's family member, when we finally get a Catholic king. And I get people asking me all the time, well, is there going to be, a fight between the Catholics and the Protestants? That's what they want. They do. They want the Crusades, okay? And so it could be that the coalition and the alliance between the white Christian nationalists and the Opus Dei-esque far-right Catholics, I don't know, like the ones on SCOTUS, might be having a little falling out right now. And that's what we want to look at today, because when I saw this Catholics for Catholics on this podium, right, I was like, oh, fascinating. Okay. So the white Christian nationalists, remember, they want Israel to have biblical borders so Jesus will come back, the whole earth will be over, and we don't have to worry ever again about paying taxes or the future or, transgender for everybody. It'll all be over, okay? Now, the far right Catholics, and if you look at my long form content, you will find that what they want is Christendom, which is one world religion, one Catholic world religion, okay? That's you're all going to be Catholic, even you Mormons. How do you feel about that? And everyone will be Catholic. It'll be one world religion, and it will happen through crusades, and it will be one world government, which interestingly is also what the tech bros want: Peter Thiel, Curtis Yarvin, etc. And once again, you can learn all about that on my long form content if you go behind a paywall. I'm really sorry. It's just it's what I have to do right now. Okay. So this is the Protestant side. On this side, you have Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, and this guy who believes in spanking his wife to punish her and all kinds of punitive, horrible, awful things that they think will bring about order in the nation, that if women would just be better, men would be better, right? No pressure. Okay. So that's the Protestant side of things. Now, this is what I wanted to say. So this is an article in the Catholic Herald. All links to these articles will be in the comments when we're done. This is what in the Catholic Herald they published. Minister invited to preach at the Pentagon. That's the Wilson guy, Doug Wilson, calls for U.S. ban on Marian processions. Okay, now if you're not Catholic, you don't know what that means. Marian processions would be Catholic parades, like, on the day of the Ascension, right? Catholic parades. A lot of towns in the Northeast, towns with high Catholic populations, Hispanic populations, they will have Marian processions where they walk down the street. They got a big statue of Mary. All the Protestants faint. Okay, all the white Christian nationalists go and cleanse themselves and cast out the demons. And it's just a big deal. Okay, and he's saying we need a ban on Marian processions. Now, them's fighting words. This is a guy who really thinks that, the white Christian nationalists are like, all right, Catholics, we're sick of you. Okay, we're going to have to stand before our Lord and Jesus one day and explain why we let the Catholics get away with so much. That's what he's thinking about. Okay, he's thinking about his own soul. God bless him. Anyway, and so I thought to myself, well, this is interesting. I wonder if this is going to, spark a chain of events. And so I do hope that you do find this interesting, because this is something that I think I can add a unique little flavor to the overall conversation that you may not be able to find somewhere else. And because I'm in the middle of rebuilding my life, I have to actually ask myself, like, okay, these words that I'm making in my brain to give to you and all the presentations, what do you need to see the most? Okay, in my time in between going to the beach and hanging out with old friends and, eating corn dogs, right? Okay, so now another thing that happened, and this is where we ask, is there a break in the ranks of the MAGA Catholics? Okay, Gareth Gore, author of Opus, The Cult of Dark Money, Human Trafficking, and Right-Wing Conspiracy in the Catholic Church. You guys know I have championed that book for over a year. It explains so much. Oh, yes. Yeah, I already told you about the Crusades. Okay, yes. He has been Gareth Gore, which I did speak to, and I have to tell you that when I did interview Gareth Gore in October, I was in the middle of what I call the blitzkrieg after my husband left the family unexpectedly. And so if you watch that video and were like, she doesn't seem so hard-hitting and analytical as normal. She's kind of like keeping it light because that's all I had the capacity to do at the time. And so now you know, because I did get people were like, "Are you okay? You're not yourself." I'm like, "No, I'm definitely not myself." But I had that interview on the books, and I was like, "I am not going to miss that." But so Gareth Gore, if you don't know the story, he's a reporter. He was a financial reporter, and he went down to Spain to España to, I just love to say that, to investigate a Banco Popular that collapsed. And so he just went as a journalist to investigate a bank. And so he found, you know, there was missing money. He followed the money, and he found a great influence of the Catholic cult Opus Dei in the middle of all of this. And then he uncovered all kinds of shady stuff, the history of Opus Dei. And one thing he did ask Pope Leo in an audience was, is the Catholic Church going to roll back the canonization of the founder of Opus Dei, Jose Maria Escrivá? Okay, and that would be a really serious thing to roll back a saint and say, whoops, we were wrong. This guy isn't a saint anyway. And so he does talk about when Jose Maria Escrivá was canonized. And he talked about the involvement of Pope John Paul II and Franco's Spain. Okay, you can't understand what's going on unless you understand Franco's Spain. And so the Franco years of Spain, which was 30 years of Catholic rule in Spain, which was brutal. In fact, the worst, the letters I get from people where the trauma literally jumps off the screen are people who grew up in Spain. Okay, so very serious stuff. So there's been human trafficking in Opus Dei. And so Gareth Gore was invited to the Vatican to sit down with Pope Leo. This doesn't happen. I mean, I hope you guys understand. This is not normal that a pope would say, oh, you've written a book. What did he call it? He called it rigorous. Is that the word he used? He called Gareth Gore's book rigorous. And it is. It's an incredible work of research. And it's not normal for a pope to say, wow, we've messed up so bad. Let me hear what this man has to say, who has been scathing of the Catholic Church. Gareth Gore is not a Catholic. Let me invite him. Let me hear what he has to say. Okay, so this is a big deal that the Pope himself is not going to just pretend like he doesn't know what's going on. And this is a big turning point. And so the question is Pope Leo having the desired effect, that what we want, and convincing the MAGA Catholics to just stop it, okay? We do not want to obliterate entire populations of people, okay? And also, remember, it's not even the Catholic goal to get Israel back to biblical borders so Jesus will come back. The Catholics don't believe in Armageddon, okay? The far-right Catholics believe in Christendom, one world religion, okay? So are the MAGA Catholics listening to these yahoos, okay, Doug Wilson and Peter, and are they saying, whoa, wait a second, no, we don't want that, okay? And are they starting to break ranks? And that was my question when I saw that the Joe Kent resigned, okay, the counterterrorism director, Joe Kent, resigned just a couple of days ago. By the way, the dates here is wrong. And then immediately he was brought to a Catholics for Catholics conference to speak and embraced by them. I mean, that's a big, I'm just saying it's possible that things are starting to fizzle out. Okay. But let's talk about this darling little chap. I mean, he does have a awkward boyishness about him. I can really see him in knee breeches, with a little dunce cap on his head. Something very Victorian. Peter Thiel. Okay. So, and I think also this could be scaring a lot of MAGA Catholics too, because, and I just want to say, if you are a MAGA Catholic and you're like, I don't even know what she's talking about. I just raised Republican My priest said that we need to be sure to vote pro-life. And I don't, Peter who? Okay, go and look at my long form content. Okay. Are the Trump supporting Catholics starting to say, what? Peter Thiel, JD Vance, how did we get wrapped up with this? Okay. And if you go back to my long form content, you'll see how the tech bros have co-opted the far right side of the Catholic Church because they have the same goals, which is a monarchy. Okay. One world religion and network states. Okay. So in a nutshell, that's what we're talking about today. Oh. Peter Thiel belongs in a Marvel movie as the needy villain. Yes, like Vector. Yes, one day we are going to produce the most entertaining content when the time is right. I don't know, give us 50 years, right? I'll be long gone. We'll all be long gone. Yeah. Okay. I'm so I love your guys' comments, but I'm on a time crunch today. As you know, we can go. I could talk about this all day. Okay. And sorry, you guys are funny. Okay, Peter Thiel. He went to Rome. He's giving lectures on the Antichrist. And I know you guys are wondering, well, what does he mean by that? Does he mean like the actual devil's going to show up with horns and be like, wah ha ha? No, he is equating basically government oversight, okay, as the Antichrist, like regulations, rules, even safety measures. Okay. And this is something that I was, another group of people that I had in, contact with. And, nobody really knew that the mother of 7 with a baby on each hip going to these homeschooling groups and being part of certain military functions and listening to speeches was just listening a lot and then going home and researching all of it and going, oh. But I have been in contact with people who believe that even medical intervention is against God because you are thwarting God's will. What a freaking disaster. But so he basically, what I understand, because these are all secret meetings in Rome, which has freaked out a couple of organizations in Rome, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And JD became a Catholic because of Thiel. That's right. And Thiel became adjacent to the Catholic Church, or a Catholic. He's too rich to actually follow a religion. He's just going to be like, oh, this. He's going to co-opt a religion to be like, this is a place for me in the future, and on all of my surveillance and my network state designs and my hatred of democracy. Peter Thiel says that, democracy has failed. We need a new system, and that we need a rigid order, which is exactly what Doug Wilson wants too. Okay, so we got these dueling banjos here. Fascinating. But this guy, Doug Wilson, he wants the world to end like real soon. Real soon, before more allegations come out against him. And Peter Thiel wants a world reorder that will make room for oligarchs, network states, the end of sovereign nations as we know them. Okay, and the beginning of a tech era powered by AI that will fix all the problems and also decrease the surplus population. So really scary shit. So boy. As a mother, when I see his face, I just see a mealy-mouthed little shit who really got too big for his britches. Okay, just so you know. Anyway, I think that so his take on the Antichrist, from what I understand, because a few people have emailed me, is that government regulations, big government having power is actually the Antichrist. Because it's government regulations and law and structure is going to stop him from doing what he wants. Therefore, he thinks it's the Antichrist. See what I mean? Mealy-mouthed little shit. All right, you can quote me on that. There's my next merch. Mealy-mouthed little shit. Anyway, staggeringly disrespectful. That's my newest. Okay. So then we have an article from the National Catholic Reporter. U.S. bishops' current criticism of Trump is welcome, but it's also years too late. In my opinion, it's that pesky pro-life issue that made everybody go, well, my gosh, there's only one candidate for president, the pro-life president. And here we are, okay? Blowing up girls' schools. So, you know, it's just time to reframe how we think, in my opinion, okay? And we can talk about abortion another time. I got a lot to say, all right? Super mean, oh, yes. Super, yeah, meanie mouse. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember back in the late 80s or early 90s, there was a movie about a family who refused to give their sick child medication for religious reasons, and then he died. Let me tell you what, being a homeschooler for 11 years, I was in contact with people like this, yeah, they really believe, well, it's God's will. Oh, well. Oh, well. Okay. Yeah. It seems everyone these days is becoming Catholic for the absolute worst reasons imaginable. Indeed, I agree. And I do want to apologize again, because there are a lot of you here now that I am not able to stay on a schedule. I'm not able to do these lives on a schedule. The only deadline I can handle every week is my weekly chapters that I publish for my memoir in real time. And so that's all I can do. So sometimes I pop on here and I'll do this. And I just learned yesterday, I can't be like, I'll be there at noon tomorrow because something came up and I just, had to do that. Let's see. Oh, who's it? Well, I don't know who you're talking about. I'm guessing Doug Wilson. Oh, of course. It's not a big deal to them. It's just not a big deal. Let's see. There was. You guys are funny. Doug Wilson. I'm telling you, you guys are the best because you just throw out the one-liners, and it lightens the mood, doesn't it? Because this is all just so gross. Doug Wilson has evil Santa vibes. He does. Yes, he has a very punitive Santa, Do I think that the Pope will excommunicate some of these folks? Is that a thing? I have no idea. And for the longest time, I was like, no, he is not going to excommunicate anybody, because the last thing Pope Leo wants is a schism. But based on what has happened in the last week, I think that, like, I honestly think the MAGA Catholics are like, what? Backing up a little bit, because Pope Leo has been so vocal about this. And it's like, okay, if you're a Catholic and you're going to go against, we're all going to do Pope Francis over again, where everyone hates him and they joke about him. And well, Pope Leo's young. Okay. So either skiz far right Catholics, or just stand down and get on board. Okay. For God's sake, honestly. Interesting. Definitely right-wing Catholic break with Protestants, as portraying JD as the anti-war Republican candidate in 2020 and 26, and will continue to lean into the Fuentes-Carlson anti-Semitism. Yeah, well, interestingly enough, our subject of the day, which I have to get to our subject. You're kidding. Huh. Well, isn't that something? See, look, they're all coming back to Mother Church, all right? Just saw that Taylor Marshall dork is calling this an unjust war. Good. So Taylor Marshall is a far-right Catholic, influencer. I don't know. I did do a piece on him about a year ago. I haven't republished it yet, but that's good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he should. Mm-hmm. Okay. We are indeed, Halen, we are living in the twilight zone. So let's look at our subject of the day. We are going to go to the Wikipedia page of this interesting character that we're all just learning about, Joe Kent, okay, and learn about who he is. And and the context of this, and the reason why I've talked now for 45 minutes is we are looking at how this ex-counterterrorism director, Joe Kent, who just resigned, who said that he could not take part in this Iran war, was immediately pulled in to speak and be supported by Catholics for Catholics, MAGA Catholic Central. Okay, and so let us look into Joe Kent. So I'm going to pull up a Wikipedia page. The Wikipedia page, just so you know, was updated just recently. So, I mean, it's fresh. And whoever wrote it did a really excellent job. I mean, not that I would know. I am merely an unlettered pie baker. What would I know? But let us look at this. Alrighty. So I'm just going to pop over here. We're just going to skim through this. Does this work out better? So you got, yeah, that works out better. So you guys can actually see what I'm reading. And oh gosh darn it, I did not push the live button on Instagram. Well, I hope that they're able to watch this too. Okay, I am streaming. I am streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Substack, and Instagram. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they definitely will. Well, how long would you like me to elaborate on this? What is your take on the evangelicals' view of the Catholic Church and its place in Armageddon? So Armageddon's the end of the word. Also, a really good song by Def Leppard. I heard all evangelicals call the Catholic Church the whore in reference to Revelation. Yes, the whore of Babylon. The Mormons call Catholics the whore as well. Can you elaborate on that? Well, they believe that, yeah, the Pope is the Antichrist. So, you know. Okay. And I should do a presentation on that. Okay, I'm sorry. Wait. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, I'll allow it. This is very good. The fact that far-right people like Joe Kent are treating Trump and his actions as if they are too much is scary. We all need a pipeline into real truth and find a way to stop the power structure from weaponizing the various ignorances of the different age groups, whether or not those ignorances are willful. Well, you know, that's independent media. I mean, you guys certainly want this content. And that's the thing. I was like, okay, then we need to keep doing this. Okay. And I promise I won't stop. Even though I'm working on my food blog again, I do some travel stuff. I'm having fun again. I'm moving on with my life, and you know, but we're gonna keep on keeping on with this content. Okay. Okay. So let's read this about Joe Kent. Is Joe Kent a Catholic? How Catholic is he? Okay. I think you will find this very interesting. Joseph Clay Kent, born April 11th, 1980, is an American politician, former United States Army warrant officer, and former CIA paramilitary officer who served as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center from 2025 to 2026. A member of the Republican Party, Kent was, so this is when I go, okay, so is this Republican Party, you know, post-Reagan Republican Party, because he's broken ranks here. A member of the Republican Party, Kent was its nominee in the United States House of Representatives election for Washington's 3rd Congressional District in 2022 and 2024. Kent enlisted in the 75th Ranger Regiment and applied for the Special Forces before the September 11th attacks. He served 11 combat tours, primarily in Iraq, and retired in 2018, becoming a paramilitary officer with the CIA. In January 2019, Kent's wife, Shannon, was killed in a suicide bombing in Manbij, Syria. He became involved in political advocacy after Shannon's death. In 2022, Kent was a Republican nominee for Washington's 3rd Congressional District. Running as a supporter of Donald Trump, he defeated the incumbent, Jamie Herrera Beutler, in the Republican primary, but lost to Democratic nominee Marie Gluesenkamp Perez in the general election. Kent ran again in 2024 and lost to Gluesenkamp Perez in a rematch. In February 2025, Trump nominated Kent for director of the National Counterterrorism Center. That month, he began serving as the chief of staff to Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence. Kent was confirmed by the Senate in July. In March 2026, Kent resigned as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, citing disagreement over U.S. involvement in the Iran war and the influence of Israel and the Israeli lobby in domestic politics. And so as a Pacific Northwesterner, I found this interesting right away. Joseph Clay Kent was born on April 11th, 1980, in a cabin in Sweet Home, Oregon. That's not too far away from here. Kent was the first child of Roman Catholic parents who later graduated from law school. He was raised in Portland, Oregon. Kent expressed an early interest in the military, constructing weapons out of Lego bricks. He was inspired to join the United States Army after watching television coverage of the Battle of Mogadishu. Kent graduated from Norwich University with a degree in strategic studies and defense analysis. Okay, so look, I'm just here, as a cultural liaison, as a Pacific Northwesterner myself. Even so, he was raised in the Pacific Northwest. So obviously, I don't think just culturally he is a diehard MAGA, obviously, because look at what he's chosen to do. And so let's see, go back here. We're going to skip the tragic death of his first wife. You guys can read that. And let's see, there was something I was going to. There we go. Okay, now here it is. Kent has been described as far right. He voted for George W. Bush in 2000 and 2004, before shifting his political beliefs towards libertarianism, supporting Ron Paul. According to voting records, he was registered with the Libertarian Party in the 2012 presidential election until 2019, when he became a Democrat. Kent voted for Bernie Sanders in the 2020 Democratic Party presidential primaries in order to support Republicans in that year's presidential election. A spokesman for Kent described his political philosophy as inclusive populism, rejecting discrimination. Okay. Kent has embraced false claims of fraud in the 2020 presidential election. A month following the January 6th Capitol attack, he stated Donald Trump had no control over the mob and attributed the severity of the attack to security planning. Oh, convenient. Kent attended the Justice for J6 rally and compared the treatment of rioters to that of Iraqi citizens in the Iraq War. He later called for releasing security footage of the attack and claimed the mob was brought to violence by provocateurs associated with the deep state. After the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago, Kent told Steve Bannon on War Room the raid constituted war. He called for defunding the Federal Bureau of Investigation in response. What a mixed bag, you guys. I've got vertigo from this, okay? In January 22, Kent led a rally against a false claim that the Washington State Board of Health was set to forcefully quarantine citizens who did not get the COVID-19 vaccine. In March, he appeared in an event organized by the Washington State Three Percenters, a far-right militia. Kent once advocated for a federal ban on abortion, but later narrowed his position towards states' rights. By the following month, he had called for an investigation into Anthony Fauci over the origin of SARS-CoV-2. SARS-CoV crap, and for a complete shutdown in immigration to the United States. Once again, I got vertigo again. In September, Kent stated Fauci should be charged with murder, described COVID-19 vaccines as experimental gene therapy. He is unvaccinated against COVID-19. At a rally with Matt Gaetz In September of 2021, Kent advocated for school vouchers and per-child tax deductions for parents. Kent opposed several proposals to replace the interstate bridge, including tolling and light rail, in his 2024 campaign. Military affairs, and then we're going to discuss. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Kent is a non-interventionalist, citing his military experience and the death of his wife. He began to question the management of the U.S. military during the Iraq War, when officials sought to eliminate members of Saddam Hussein's government. I mean, I just have to say, whoever wrote this did an incredible job. According to Mother Jones, Kent read David Hackworth's memoir About Face in 1990, a book critical of the clerks at the top, directing the U.S.'s involvement in the Vietnam War. He defended Trump's pardons of 2 Army officers convicted of Uniform Code of Military Justice offenses, Matthew L. Gostelin and Clint Lawrence, and his intervention in the case of Eddie Gallagher, oh God, that guy, a Navy SEAL, involved with a high-profile war crimes case, in an interview with New York Times in November of 2019. Kent compared Gallagher's case with that of Chelsea Manning. Foreign policy. At a conference held at Washington Marriott Marquis in April 22, Kent argued that the political establishment seeks to initiate a conflict against Russia, including by providing military assistance to Ukraine, a level of support he outright opposed. He stated Russian President Vladimir Putin's demands for Donetsk and Luhansk oblasts were very reasonable. His comments on Tucker Carlson tonight, denouncing support for Ukraine as deterring a peace deal, were repeated by TASS, a Russian-owned state news agency. In September of 23, Kent described Biden's administration strategy as immoral, arguing that the U.S. is fueling a prolonged war that is unsustainable for Ukraine. Kent has specifically stated that the policy uses the Ukrainian citizen population as, quote, cannon fodder, describing drafted Ukrainian soldiers whom he characterized as formerly everyday workers and students, as being sent to die in a muddy ditch, in a war he believed they cannot win. He has argued that by providing continuous aid, the U.S. prevents a necessary, albeit likely painful, peace deal from being brokered. In 2021, following the chaotic U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, Kent emerged as a vocal critic of what he described as Washington's failed nation-building strategies. In March 26, Kent characterized U.S.-Israeli strikes against Iran as manufactured war, arguing they did not serve American interests and risked repeating the disastrous mistakes of the Iraq War. Okay, so how are we doing? Are we all still, you're all still here. Thank you. Sometimes I wonder, I'm like, oh, they're gone now. There you are. Okay, so, what a character. I mean, what an interesting guy. Like I said, I've got vertigo now, just reading all of that. And here he has done this, very gutsy move. Let's see, where did I put that? I had the most interesting, let me see here. I got it over here on my laptop. Talk amongst yourselves. Let me pull up a comment here and talk about stuff. Yeah. Yeah, real vertigo. I read his entry a couple of days ago. First, it starts off okay, then it goes into the looking glass. Yeah. Very good point. I really believe those of us who lean left need to embrace right-wingers who are against these warmongering, abstained maniacs. Let's see here. Let me find what I was going to show you, because I have his little speech for Catholics. And I couldn't believe my ears. I was like, this is Catholics for Catholics? Somebody put the fear of God into those people. I'm also a classical vocalist. La 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 la. La 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 la. La la la. La 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 la. I will sing an Italian aria for you one day. Okay, let's see. To give you another thing to see here, and then I guess we'll just start wrapping up. And share screen. Here we are. Okay, just get a load of this. This is crazy fascinating. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Okay, so here we are. There I was. Okay, drinking my coffee, looking at all this, and I see Catholics for Catholics on the podium. And I mean, I'll tell you what, they didn't miss a beat. This is brand new. They scooped him up and pulled him in. Fascinating. There's something happening here. All right, let's watch this. So we know all about Joe Kent. All right. Well, we know enough. All right. Check this out. Here he is. This was yesterday. Oh, come on. An ad? All right.
Former director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, who recently resigned his post in the Trump administration following his objections to the U.S. war with Iran, spoke at a Catholic gala in Washington, D.C. His remarks come after reports that the FBI had begun investigating him for allegedly leaking classified information.
All right, Joe.
Catholics for Catholics.
First of all, thank you for your service to the country, 6 Bronze Stars. And honestly, most importantly, your family suffered for America. You lost Shannon on, was it January 19th, 2019, January 16th? And I want to thank you for that. And this decision to follow your conscience, give us a little backstory. How did that happen?
Without getting too much into detail, I just did a long form podcast with Tucker, kind of laid out the entire politics of the issue. But look, after serving 20 years, mostly deployed to the Middle East, fighting the wars over there, and just seeing how our country had been lied to and brought down the wrong path in those wars, and that we were getting sucked into another one, and that the American people didn't have the full story, and our country did not have a vital national interest in this current fight. I said, hey, I in good conscience can't do this, because that was a promise I made to myself probably 20 plus years ago when I was deployed to Iraq. Once I realized after my first couple deployments that we weren't there for the reasons that our government told us we were there for, I said, if it's ever my turn, if I'm ever an adult in this situation, I ever have a position of responsibility, I will not in good conscience send young men and women off to die on foreign battlefields.
So we're Catholics here, and I believe you're a baptized Catholic.
Okay.
We saw just on Sunday.
Okay, let me pause this. Okay. Did you hear that applause? Okay, did you hear that applause? I'm telling you, no one from the social justice side of the Catholic Church goes to a Catholics for Catholics, event. They cheered. Think about that. All right. Think about that. What an interesting turn of events. And then the leader here guy, we'll talk about him another time. the guy who's speaking, who's on the stage. He says, as Catholics, he says, now you were born a Catholic, right? And so that's code. Okay. He said you were born a Catholic, right? He said you're not a devout Catholic. Okay. Now, in Catholic speak, there are different degrees of Catholicism, as you all know. Okay. And in Catholic speak, born a Catholic means you're one of us. We'd like more of you. We'd like to bring you in. We think you're interesting. And we're also going to acknowledge, I'm not thinking that he's a devout Catholic. Okay. And so, which is also super interesting, because according to what I have read, according to what I have seen, according to the comments that show up, and, I'll tell you what, I had a string of trolls for about 5 months in 2025 that were brutal, but also fascinating, because I learned so much. And if it according to them and according to this mindset, what I thought Catholics for Catholics were part of this, that if you're not all in, then get out, right? They don't want to work with you. You either change yourself to fit into the far right side of the Catholic Church, or you get lost, okay? They don't want any they don't want any cafeteria Catholics. They don't want any gutter Catholics. They don't want any half Caths, right? No half and half Caths. They want you to be all in. So the fact that they brought this guy in, he says, you were born Catholic, right? I don't know. I just find it interesting. And just all these little cultural markers. Okay, so let's watch what else he has to say. Let's make myself a little tiny Shannon. Bink. Okay. All right, here we go.
And this is so great to see, because people are like, why a Catholic champion, or why here? The Holy Father, the Vicar of Christ on earth, has been so strong and outspoken in recent comments talking about what Catholics should be worried about.
Okay, did you guys hear that? Okay, stop the presses. Catholics for Catholics, all right, MAGA Catholic Central, Mar-a-Lago Catholics, all right, are talking about Pope Leo in a positive light. Oh my gosh. How about that? Okay. I mean, holy crap. Okay, let's just say that. I got nothing else to say. That's my analysis on that. Holy crap. Let's continue. Let's listen to that part again though. Let's back up just like a few seconds. There we go.
Been so strong and outspoken in recent comments talking about what Catholics should be worried about, the innocent people that are being hurt through all this. He mentioned the Catholic priest that was killed, Father Pierre, by an attack in Lebanon. Does it help you to have either members of your faith community or religious leaders speaking up on your behalf? Like, what's it been like to have that support from outside?
It's been huge. I quite frankly didn't think when I submitted my resignation it would get the traction or the attention that you talked about. But
did you hear that? Okay. I did not think when I submitted my resignation that basically, you know, I'm paraphrasing, that he would be so pulled in and embraced by his faith. Okay. Holy crap. Holy crap. Let's continue with this fascinating little tidbit.
having the support from friends, family, but really, I've been asked a couple of times, was it a hard decision to make? And it's definitely a decision I didn't make lightly. I put a lot of thought into it, and I'd been thinking about it for quite some time. But having faith, I think I was able to hear God's voice. I was able to hear that I was exactly where I was supposed to be, and it was my time to actually take action, which made taking the action incredibly easy, actually, and actually made me feel very liberated and like I'm in the right spot.
So Catholic speak, anyone, you know, raised in the Catholic Church on either side of the aisle was very influenced by the idea that the Holy Spirit guides us, okay, and that the Holy Spirit speaks to us. I'm a huge fan of the Holy Spirit. I have a great devotion to the Holy Spirit. In fact, you know, I believe the Holy Spirit has its hand in everything. In the, you know, and a lot of people are going to call it different things, you know, source, divine, this, you know, it's the, you know, if we were in Star Wars, okay, if Star Wars was real, which maybe it is in a galaxy far, far away, the Holy Spirit would be the force, right? And so, you know, anyone who, I don't know about other religions, but for sure in the Catholic faith, we are taught that we listen to that still small voice. And that's where so much of the ritual comes from. Well, like when you are in the ritual, when you're saying your rosary or you're at mass and you listen, because it comes like this, like in your brain, like that, like from the back, right? And so here he is, exhibiting the roots of his Catholic faith, saying, I just had to listen to that. Okay. Let me back that up just a little bit and let's listen to that again, because that is the kind of spiritual talk that you will find, right? With a lot of people of faith, like, no, I just, you know, okay, this is good. I mean, this is fascinating. So so here we go. Here we go. Here you go.
Liberated and like I'm in the right spot.
Yeah. Yeah. He feels like he was in the right spot at the right time to do this, right? And once again,
Do you have
apply.
hope for America? And if you do, why so?
Let me get, I want you to.
Do you have hope for America? And if you do, why so?
I have a great deal of hope for America. I think this is a very exciting moment. I think the fact that we're seeing people who speak out on behalf of their faith or who are willing to speak truth to power, and the fact that the people who support them are able to actually have a voice because of the technology, which obviously can be used for a lot of bad. But in the case of connecting like-minded people and getting our word out, that technology is a very powerful weapon in our hand. And also the young people in this country, the young men, the young women, plenty here in this room. I was kind of overwhelmed when I got here tonight, especially by the young folks that came up and wanted to shake my hand. And so I have a lot of hope for the next generation. I think as we head into this midterm season and just...
Okay, now listen to this. He said the audience. So we're listening to all this clapping. Remember, I'm like, my God, MAGA Catholics are clapping. They're clapping. They're clapping for Pope Leo, really? So he's saying these young MAGA Catholics are applauding him speaking out against the Iran war. Okay, this is sick. I don't know. Maybe I'm nothing. Maybe I am merely an unlettered pie baker. Maybe I am just a jilted baby machine. But I kind of think this is important. Okay. Let us continue. I digress.
As this war advances in the next couple of weeks, I think, like you said in your open, the most important thing we can do is be on our knees and pray. But once we're up from our knees, we need to take action. Our leaders will hear us if we all speak out. We're at a critical juncture in the war in Iran. We need to let our leaders hear that we do not support this war. We do not think there's a vital national security interest. We want to bring our troops home. We want to work towards peace in that region. We do not want 20 plus more years of bloodletting. And then as we head into this next election cycle, demand from everyone, from every political party, go to them, go to your representatives and say, I will not vote for you if you are going to vote for the continuation of these wars overseas. And by no means, I don't expect anybody here to be some kind of a pacifist. If our country is attacked, we will attack. If there's an imminent attack, we will attack. If there's an actual threat, we will attack and we will fight that. However, we cannot continue to go down this path. We have to make that clear to our leaders. That's what gives me hope.
So thank you again.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Give it up for this guy. And he needs prayers.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Let's give a round of
Thank you.
Thank you.
What a fascinating turn of events, I have to say. And of course, you guys have to understand. So when Pope Leo was elected, first of all, I did a whole analysis on the papal conclave. I just posted that long form content behind a paywall a couple days ago. I did a whole analysis about the papal conclave. I showed you the front runners. I did not see Prevost winning. I really thought it was going to be Parolin. But one thing I was saying was, okay, I was also in that long form content, analyzing the papal conclave. I was saying, these are the guys we don't want there. And the number one guy there was Cardinal Muller from Germany. We'll talk about him another time. But Cardinal Erdo rhymes with hairdo. Erdo from Hungary. And I was like, that would be a disastrous choice. Okay. Which if you do watch my long form content and you do you can watch the long form content where I talk about the Danube Institute and Viktor Orban's Hungary and the integralist ideals coming from all different little pockets of Europe, and they want feudalism back, and they want Catholic hierarchy. There's cells around Europe. They want remigration. They want an all-white Europe. Blah 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 blah. Right? Cardinal Erdo would have been a disastrous choice. And so when I saw that Pope Leo, Cardinal Prevost was elected, I laughed out loud. I laughed out loud because I think the Holy Spirit's funny. I laughed out loud because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to change everything. Okay. And so my question is, now we're just going to go through my little slides here really quick, and let me just wrap this up and put a little bow on it, because you know what we're seeing, I think this is a big deal. And so once again, it's the March 20th. You know, I'm always apologizing for mistakes, but anyway, so here we are. Was it in response? You know, how much did Hegseth, how much is Hegseth's, you know, cosplay, you know, contrived, overdone, supercharged? Oh yeah, this is a term for it, belt fed. So in the military community, there's a term, a culture, military culture, there's a term called belt fed. Somebody who's like all in, you know, belt fed, like belt fed, you know, and everyone's like, oh God, take it down a notch, Pete. Okay. You're scaring the shit out of us. Okay. Did Pete just jump the shark? Did he take it too far? And then he's got his pastor saying, this is it, you guys. Let's ban these Catholic parades right now. And then the MAGA Catholics are like, oh no. And then you got Gareth Gore. You got Opus Dei being partially disbanded already. You got Gareth Gore is talking to the Holy See saying, we got to clean this crap up. You got the Holy See saying, God, this is terrible. Okay. I'm just saying, I think some things just fell into place. Then you got this asshole, you know, and so then, I mean, I just think things are kind of falling into place. And so when I did see that Cardinal Prevost, that Pope Leo was elected, I laughed out loud, because I thought, oh my gosh, this might just change everything. And so, you know, like I said, this asshole here, he's acting out. He's throwing a little fit. All right. He's not just going to go deliver his speech on the Antichrist in, I don't know, go to Copenhagen. Okay. Go somewhere. No, he's going to do it at the doorstep of the Vatican. He's going to do it in Rome. Okay. Oh, let me see what time we have. Oh, I only have a few more minutes. Oh, okay. These darn early release days, the kids come home an hour early, and I always feel just a little bit robbed. Okay. What did I want to show you? I wanted to show you Peter Thiel. Now, I was considering just doing an entire presentation on the Antichrist. I was like, maybe that'll be fun. We'll just go all the way back to lore. We'll go all the way back, you know, who the hell thought this up? Because I'll tell you what, somebody thought it up. Okay. But then I was like, no, I want to go hang out with my friends instead. And, you know, go drink lattes and have a Pacific Northwest experience. But let's look at this really quick. And then honestly, and I mean it, if my kids walk in the door, I mean, if I see them walk, I just have to cut out. I gotta just say, I gotta go. Okay, so understand. Okay. Okay. Wait. There we go. No. There we go. Oh gosh darn it. What am I? Stop screen. Wait, add to stage. Oh, this is right. I'm sorry. Let me try this again. Okay, we're going to look at the CNN article. CNN article. Peter Thiel's secret lectures on Antichrist in Rome spark debate. Look at that. That, I'm telling you, he just has a squirmy boyishness about him. Little knee breeches, sitting in a. Every time you look at Peter Thiel, from here on out, I do declare, I decree, I want you to imagine him in knee breeches with a little dunce cap on his head. Okay, Peter Thiel, the billionaire venture capitalist and MAGA donor, is in Rome this week for a series of private lectures on the Antichrist. Yeah, March 19th. This is happening right now. This is published yesterday. It's an event that the Vatican and the Pope are treating with caution. Oh, you think? What could be wrong with a billionaire venture capitalist who believes that democracy is the devil, giving a series of secret talks on the Antichrist in Rome? What's the big deal, guys? Everyone's overreacting about this. Okay, Thiel's talks are closed to the media and taking place at an undisclosed location. An invitation seen by the Associated Press as the co-founder of PayPal and Palantir Technologies will focus on the Antichrist, a figure in Christian teaching who comes to oppose Jesus Christ before the second coming. God, more of this crap. I'm telling you what, I'm so sick of these people. But the appearance of Thiel on the Vatican's doorstep has raised eyebrows, given the tensions between Thiel's thinking and that of Pope Leo XIV. Two Catholic institutions have distanced themselves from the lecture series, I would certainly hope so, which continues through Wednesday. Thiel has previously written and lectured on the subject, arguing that the Antichrist is not necessarily a person, but could come as a global government system. It would take control, he has argued, by exploiting people's fears around artificial intelligence, climate change, or nuclear war. Oh, so who's afraid of, I mean, if you're afraid of nuclear war, clearly you are overreacting. What's the problem? Okay. I can't even. Okay, here we go. He has also reportedly expressed concern in past lectures that Vice President J.D. Vance, a Catholic convert, which you guys should know if you studied this or you look at my long form content, he fast-tracked J.D. Vance into the far right side of the Catholic. I mean, J.D. Vance wouldn't be nobody. Well, he'd be an author, yeah, if it wasn't for Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel bankrolled his run into the Senate, okay? It's just ridiculous. But now he's saying that he's worried that he's going to become too close to the Pope, okay? I do not take that statement at face value, okay, just so you know. Those remarks reflect anxiety shared by parts of the Trump coalition about the papacy's global reach and independent moral authority. How dare the Pope have independent moral authority? Thiel prefers a more nationalist, technologically oriented vision, while the Pope and the Holy See have repeatedly called for the strengthening of global institutions such as the United Nations. Okay, remember the Board of Peace? So far, two Catholic institutions have distanced themselves from Thiel's Rome lectures. The Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas, also known as the Angelicum, denied initial reports that it would host their lectures. The Angelicum is where Robert Prevost, the future Pope Leo, studied for a doctoral thesis in the 1980s. The Thiel lectures are being organized jointly by Vincenzo Gioberti Cultural Association, which aims to renew, Italian political culture and make the restoration of Catholicism as the cornerstone of national identity. Okay, I'm going to read that again. The Thiel lectures are being organized jointly by the Vincenzo Gioberti Cultural Association, which aims to renew Italian political culture and make the restoration of Catholicism as the cornerstone of national identity. Do you guys remember just a minute ago or a few minutes ago when I was talking that there are cells around Europe that believe in a white Europe? They want their Catholic government back. That would be this, okay? And they have these, I need to do a deep dive into that particular organization, but we've got a lot of them there that are pushing for remigration, which means they want all non-whites to get the hell out of Europe. I mean, real nice people, just true Christians. Okay. Let's see if I can just, okay, jointly. And the Clooney Institute, which is based at the Catholic University of America in Washington. We need to do more research into that. So let's see. The Catholic University of America is not sponsoring or hosting an event featuring Peter Thiel this month in Rome, a spokesperson for the university told CNN. The Clooney Project is an independent initiative incubated at the university. Well, okay. Anyway, I'm not going to read the rest of it because I'm going to put the link in the comments. So, you go, if you check it out if you want. I'm going to have all of these links available in the comments when I'm done. And that's it. I'm telling you, you guys have the best one-liners. J.D. Vance is an eyeliner shapeshifter. Yes, he is. He is. Yes. J.D. Vance and Thiel are a couple. I put money on it. I don't care if anyone is gay. I just can't abide hypocrites. Vance is a Vance is a political whore. Okay. I don't argue. I'm not here to argue. I will allow that comment. Yeah, he feels he's a little nervous. Yeah. He feels he has to control the popular Antichrist narrative because he and his ilk fit the description so closely. Yeah, better get on top of that. Yeah, he's got to get ahead of it. Put his own story out there first. Yeah. Keep JD away from Pope Leo. Yes. JD, you've lost your privileges to touch a pontiff forever. Oh, golly. Yeah. Yes. What's scary? It's all this money, religion, and superpowers around the world. It's a bad combination. Well, and this is why, Peter Thiel thinks democracy is a bad idea, because we're so stupid. He needs to be the one to make the decision. And that's what people in a rigid hierarchy believe, that there is one authority and you all better fall in line. And if you don't, it means you're a bad, 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 evil person, because only bad, 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 evil people push back on rigid structures of hierarchy. And they must be punished. I'll go back to Monty Python. We must spank them, and spank them well. Anyway, yeah, he thinks he is like the Antichrist, and that's why he talks about it constantly. Maybe he wishes he was. Maybe, yeah, it is. It is all so heavy. It's just disgusting. It's terrible. It's a nightmare. But anyway, having you guys here, it makes it all the more palatable. And this is the kind of humor that is going to get us all through, no matter what's going on in our lives. I named my bantam rooster Hexas, rooster of war. That's the best thing. I named my bantam rooster Hexas, rooster of war. Oh my gosh, that's so perfect. Okay. Anyway, this kind of humor is going to get us through. I'm telling you what can we do but be brave, courageous, stand up to systems of oppression, no matter where they are, and make fun of people. Make fun, let's Hexeth, rooster of war. No, he sure doesn't talk about Jesus's teachings. No, why would we do that? Jesus was so stinking boring. Now the Pope is like universal health care. Oh God, what if Yep. How does he think the evangelicals, so the far right Catholics, because he aligns himself with the Opus Dei, ilk, won't turn on him for being gay. Well, actually, I did talk about that in the long form lecture I did on J.D. Vance's pipeline. The Catholics have a different way of the Catholics, the far right Catholics have a very special way of demonizing gay people. Okay, it's unique. Okay, we like to claim it as our own. They believe that all you have to do is just deny it and move on with your life. But and that works out so well. But so what I understand, okay, and my kids are going to walk in the door any second, is that Father Arnie Panula, who was the head of Opus Dei and the head of the Catholic Information Center in Washington, D.C., befriended Peter Thiel at Stanford. Yes. And they got into long philosophical discussions, and they discussed the philosophies of Rene Girard. And, really, these are people who love to discuss all of the aspects of the human experience and the human psyche and the human spirit. And, these are the people who are asking, what is morality and what is right and what is wrong. And so that kind of teasing of thought is what somebody like Peter Thiel got into. Okay. And so he's still deep in this thought. And now he wants to delve into the Antichrist. And of course he has his own agenda. Indeed. Religion needs to stay out of politics and politics out of religion. Indeed. Yes. They think Jesus and the Pope's teaching are liberal woke crap. Yes. So funny. So fun. I mean, love one another. I don't know. It's kind of hard to do. It's hard to love one another when you're just, a far more superior human than everybody. And you want to tell everyone how to live their lives. It's very hard to be loving when people don't respect your iron fist of authority. Very difficult. So anyway, I so appreciate you guys being here, and I'm really glad I was able to do this week. Next week is spring break, so I won't be doing a live on Catholic stuff. Although, you know what? I could do this every single day, and there would still be more to talk about. But as you know, I'm rebuilding my life, and next week the kids and I are going to do sightseeing in Oregon, and we're going to make a lot of videos. And I'm rebuilding my website, theflyingkitchen.com, and it's recipes, but it's also going to be a resource for people who want to visit the Oregon coast. I'm just, I'm doing everything I can right now, just to move on and build something nice for myself and some stability for me and the kids. And so super appreciate you guys being here and all your support. And so if you're online and you see a mixed bag and, 1 minute I'm, eating this, and the next minute I'm here, and the next minute I'm talking about this. I got some birdhouses out here that I want to paint. Maybe I'll do a video on that. I don't know. I'm just, doing what I can to keep the algorithm popping. And also I enjoy, producing content and connecting with all of you. And it is this community that's made all the difference in my life, for sure, and the life of my kids. And so let me show you my Substack again, the Gutter Catholic Daily Digest. I've been on the bestsellers list for 5 months now, and that's where you're going to find my long form content now behind a paywall. I'm very sorry, but it's just what I have to do right now, and it is valuable content. I spent hundreds of hours researching, and also you'll find behind a paywall my memoir in real time, The Gutter Catholic Goes Home. And I publish every Sunday. And that is the only deadline I can tolerate right now. The rest is just flying by the seat of my pants. What am I doing today? I don't even know. Which friends am I going to go visit? I don't even know. But I certainly am really enjoying being back in my hometown and connecting with all my friends and rediscovering, my own culture, which is really nice. And so for somebody who's been traveling around the world and, been an outsider in many cultures, it sure is nice to not be an outsider anymore. Okay. Thanks so much, everybody. You've all been amazing and so helpful and so supportive. And I'll put links to all these articles in the comments, and we'll talk to you later. And yeah, better go. I'll talk to you later. Bye.